kiddo's version.
It's performed.
And maybe he'll grace us with some welcome home as well from Metallica as we wait for some people to arrive in our live.
Okay. This is a true crime channel in case you're just stopping in.
Another day in the car. We have the car crew. Julez, Jack, and Jay is just off screen. Our very talented son.
Tonight we're going to talk about Diddy and
Brandon Isabelle.
that bastard Brandon Isabelle. Poor baby. Can we get a mod?
Any troll hunters in here?
Put my glasses on so I can see the phone. Hi,
Thank you.
Carrie. Welcome to our
Anyway,
show.
Diddy was being ridiculous. Oh yeah, I tried to make a
You
pun.
did not.
I did. And the judge has denied Diddy's request for an acquittal on his 2 charges of transportation for the intent or purpose of prostitution. And also has denied Diddy's dismissal
Or
request.
his real trial as well.
Diddy will be sentenced this Friday, October 3rd. Diddy tried to hide behind the First Amendment. He tried to claim that these charges that he has been found guilty of were done through his expression of art and freedom of expression, that he liked to watch pornography, and that he is a pornography director. And
I wonder if you can even say that word on YouTube.
yeah, everybody I heard saying it doesn't say the whole word. It rhymes with cornography. That's what I call it. Call it cornography.
Corn.
Okay, so Diddy has previously been convicted of 2 counts of transporting people for the purpose of committing pornography, and which is the Mann Act, and he tried to have an acquittal on that by arguing that what happened did not fit the definition of constitution.
Good job.
And he was saying that this that he wasn't engaging in a constitution because he only likes to watch, and he liked to pay people so that he could watch, but that he wasn't paying directly for him to be in on the act or anything like that. And I just said, no, that doesn't work. This all does fit the definition of institution. And then Diddy tried to go for a dismissal, saying that this was a violation of his First Amendment rights because he is an amateur choreographer, and that this was his art form, and that he was only watching, and a bunch of other stuff. And the judge said that didn't work either. And he basically ruled that Diddy's arguments were ridiculous, and so Diddy will have to go to court on October 3rd for his sentencing, where Diddy wants his sentence to be 14 months or time served, which, because he's already been in there for 14 months. The prosecution is asking for 11 years. And meanwhile, and hopefully the judge does listen to the probation department, because what the probation department is recommending is they want him to do 70 to 80 months for the charges that he has been found guilty of.
That's over 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Diddy, I'm going backwards again, but one of the other things that he tried to argue as being a reason why these two convictions should be tossed out. He's like, well, the jury was prejudiced against me because of my RICO charges and my other charges. And then the judge is like, this is the same jury that heard those charges and acquitted you on those charges. So how would that be prejudicing them against these two charges? So, yeah, Diddy was just being Diddy, and
Diddy being Diddy.
And did he win? No, he did not. So
Did he get
October
his new trial?
3rd. No new trial.
Mm-hmm.
No nothing. October 3rd, he will get his sentencing.
Okay, what's next?
Next, since we mentioned it, we will go straight to Brandon Isabelle and put up those alerts too, because this is a heinous case. But it took the jury only.
We covered that, but he did.
Well, first I'm gonna say it only took the jury 1 hour and 34 minutes to come back with 1 hour and 34 minutes of deliberation, and which included their dinner, I think, and they came back with
Thank you, Karen.
with verdicts of guilty of the first-degree murder of Danielle Hoyle, who is his former girlfriend and mother of his newborn child. Brandon Isabelle was also found guilty on first-degree murder charges in the death of his newborn child. He also was found guilty of kidnapping his newborn child and 2 heinous counts of child neglect or abuse related to the death of that newborn child. And now I'm going into the horrible details of what he did and informing you that not only was he caught on video confessing to the crimes on camera with the police in the interrogation room, but he was also, in the case of his newborn baby girl Kennedy, who was only 2 days old, in that case he was caught on the cameras, surveillance cameras and stuff, in the neighborhood where the crime took place. And what happened was, Brandon Isabelle was involved with 3 women at once. His wife, his 2 girlfriends at FedEx, and his wife was the mother of one of his children, or at least one of his children, and he was living with his wife at the time, and that's when he started dating both Artesia and Danielle. Danielle lived with her mother and worked at the FedEx. Artesia also worked at the FedEx, and Artesia has, I believe, a 5-year-old child, or maybe, I'm not quite sure on the age of Artesia's child, but Artesia's child is not Brandon's child. And Artesia became aware that Brandon had an ex-wife and child, or at least one child, and she was still willing to be in a relationship with him, even though she wasn't so big on the idea of having a baby mama and a child that wasn't hers being part of the relationship. But then she found out that her coworker Danielle was pregnant and was saying that the child was Brandon's. And Brandon told her, no, I had a fling with Danielle, but this wasn't my child. And so they were having arguments on and off about this, and Artesia and Danielle were arguing back and forth through third parties and through texts. And eventually it got to the point where Danielle was in the hospital giving birth. Brandon went there to the hospital with her, all the while texting with Artesia, who was telling him to get a DNA test and find out whether this is his child or not. And they were in the off phase of their on-off relationship. And Artesia was saying she didn't think she was going to take him back. And he was saying, it's not my child, get back with me, etc. And so then he left the hospital. And then the next day, after Danielle checked out of the hospital with baby Kennedy and went home to her mom, and they got to have at least an hour together, at least they had that, Brandon called Danielle and said, I've had a change of heart, and I do want to be an active daddy for our little girl, and I've gone and gotten some gifts and some clothing for the baby, and I want you to meet me at a MAPCO so I can give them to you and so I can see the baby for a little bit. And so Danielle left the house optimistic, baby Kennedy in the back seat of her car. But before she got to the MAPCO, Brandon got in touch with her again and said, change of plans, I want you to meet me at this address, which just so happened to be on a deserted street, and it just happened to be during a rainstorm. And this street was a dead-end street that was known to be a place where people dumped stolen cars. And so Danielle was obviously a bit, I guess, wary, afraid. So she parked the wrong way on the street. Then Brandon went up to the passenger door and he fired into the car, shattering the window, putting holes in the door, and hitting Danielle in the head and the neck. And then he pulled Danielle out of the car and dragged her through the rain to a ditch where he left her face down in the water, the muddy water, until she was deceased. But while she was just laying there in that ditch, he went back to the car, unfastened the car seat, and took little Kennedy out of Danielle's car and put her in the back seat of his own car. Then he noticed the blood on his slides, Kennedy's mother's blood, and he drove home where he lived with his parents. He took the slides off and put them in the trunk of his car and went inside, leaving the baby in the back seat. He changed his clothes, went back to the car, and called Artesia and texted Artesia and was trying to get Artesia to take him back and was saying, oh, the baby's not mine and Danielle's not going to be a problem for us. But he had little Kennedy in the back seat of his car, and he started driving up and down a street that had lots of cams on the houses and such alongside the Mississippi River. Slow and deliberate up and down the street. And while he's doing this and texting with Artesia, a cop noticed this car parked the wrong way on the end of that street during the rainstorm, and so he called in the plates, got the address, and sent an officer over there to check and see if this was indeed a stolen car. And the officer that went to the home encountered Danielle's mother, who was very distraught and explained that her daughter had left the house earlier and was supposed to just meet the father of her 2-day-old infant to get some clothing and have a short visit, and then was going to come back to the house, but she never returned. So this was concerning, and the officer let the officer at the scene of the vehicle know, and he went to take a closer look, noticed the signs of violence at the car and drag marks going towards the ditch, found Danielle deceased face down in the ditch, and went back to the car and saw that the only sign of there being a newborn baby in the car was the diaper bag with little Kennedy's name on it. And so they were very alarmed at that
Boy,
time.
You get him, Karen Lee.
And then at that time, simultaneously, Brandon made up his mind, and he pulled up at an abandoned boat ramp on that street that he had been driving slowly up and down. And he parked, and he got Kennedy out of the back seat of the car, and he carried her to the river, and then holding her by one ankle, he hucked her into the river, and also the
Just
weapon.
1 foot.
Yeah, by one ankle, he hurled her into the river,
This could be so horrible.
as well as the weapon that he had used to take Danielle's life. And later on, when he was asked by police how far he hurled the baby, he said, "Not as far as I hurled the weapon." And in the act of hurling her into the river, Kennedy's little newborn hat fell off her head and landed on the riverbank. And so then Brandon went to a Walgreens and bought gifts for Artesia. Told Artesia he bought her presents and wanted to see her and could he come over to her house. And Artesia wasn't home at the time, but said yes. And on the way over to Artesia's, Brandon went to a Walmart, went behind the store, and got Kennedy's car seat out of the back seat of his car and deposited it next to a dumpster.
Walmart has cameras.
Walmart has cameras.
Lots of cameras.
Mm-hmm. So all of that was caught.
Susie, do you want to be moderator?
And then Brandon went to Artesia's house, and before Artesia could even turn off her car when she arrived, Brandon jumped into the passenger seat and told her to drive. He told her, "Oh, Danielle's gone missing. Her brother's been calling me, and it's a huge mess." Artesia ended up driving him back to his parents' house. When they got there were police waiting for them. Artesia and Brandon are now ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, and Artesia testified against Brandon.
Well, of course.
Obviously.
Brandon won't be having any more.
And Brandon won't be having any more girlfriends. So anyway, the jury came back with Brandon being guilty on all counts, and it appears that the next phase will be tomorrow morning. And while the judge did not clearly state what the next phase is, I am guessing it has something to do with sentencing. So that is what's going to be happening tomorrow in the Brandon Isabelle case. And
Welcome in all the way from Vermont. We're up here on top of the mountains up here in Colorado, 9,000
I guess
feet.
you have more colors in your leaves than we do here. We have basically shades of yellow because we have primarily aspen trees that turn colors here. But we're kind of like leafers ourselves and have been out looking at the leaves during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope everyone in here has been taking the time out to enjoy the colors and whatnot.
Hi, Cupcake. Welcome to our show.
And then let's talk about a little privileged snot named Laken Snelling, who did the unthinkable.
Florida. Good evening.
Laken Snelling was a 21-year-old cheerleader at university, and she hid a pregnancy,
Another trigger warning for this one.
taking her child to term. She had roommates, and they had no clue until they found lifeless infant in a cupboard in their home, and Laken was nowhere to be seen, but they knew neither one of them were responsible for this infant wrapped in plastic. And so, after giving birth to the child, Laken had left the house after cleaning up and trying to, hide all signs of what had gone on, wrapping the baby in plastic and stashing the baby in the cupboard, and also putting the placenta in a Ziploc bag and placing it with the infant. Laken then went to the university campus where she hesitated outside of the university clinic, thought better of it, and did not go seek any medical help. And then she went and got some food from McDonald's. And then when she returned to her residence, she was confronted and arrested. And Laken gave investigators a couple of different versions of what happened. She appears to have at first tried to claim that she didn't know that she was pregnant, and she tried to say that this was a stillborn baby, but she also couldn't stop talking and
This poor girl.
stated that
And she's a college student.
yeah, and she stated that she heard the baby whimper, which tends to indicate that the baby was born alive. She said she wrapped the baby up like a burrito, and she passed out on top of him. And when she woke up, he was turning blue and purple, which kind of indicates that his circulation system had been working, so indicating that he was born alive. And of course, pathologists are going to be all over this to decide whether she's going to be charged with anything more than what she's already been charged with. She has been charged with abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and concealing the birth of an infant. She is currently on a $100,000 bond and on house arrest at her parents' home. And she was arrested on officially arrested on August 30th. She'd been questioned before that. August 27th is when a roommate of hers reported to 911 that she had found an infant that was cold to the touch in a plastic bag in a cupboard in her apartment. And so we're going to be following that case to see what's going on.
Yeah, she showed up her first time in court. Remember?
The first time she showed up in court, she was wearing a red cocktail dress and tons of makeup. And this second trip to court, she showed up dressed in a somber black dress and little or no makeup. I guess trying to appear to be in mourning or something. I mean, at least less of a party mood than the first time around. And so
I'm gonna go back up to the camera. I can't see
we
the
need to see
comments.
what goes on with that. And
Oh, the Safe Haven baby box
yeah,
down the street from Lakin. Oh,
yeah, and that is just sickening because most people are well aware that there are these safe haven baby boxes in major cities and such, and also that
thank you, Karen.
if you give birth to an unwanted newborn or your baby's
These are in
danger-
selected cities all across the country.
Yeah, and then the other things are that you could take a baby to a fire station or to a hospital, and there's
I-80.
no reason to take the life of a little bitty infant. And there are plenty of people who would be happy to love, care for, and raise these children that aren't wanted by their biologicals. They deserve a chance at life. And then going onto the kind of theme of people deserving chances and such, there was a man
We'll
who
have
was-
some MAGA stuff coming
who
up
was
later.
convicted of a horrific crime, and he actually was on death row for 4 years.
Oh, they
He
got
spent
it.
8 years in prison. He was freed in 2009, claimed that he was coerced by cops to confess to the yogurt shop murders. And yogurt shop murders are a featured story on HBO streaming. And then this week it's come out that they have caught the actual person who did it through DNA, although he is no longer alive, but he is a serial killer. In Austin, Texas, 4 teen girls were found shot to death in a yogurt shop. They worked there, and they were bound, and the yogurt shop had been caught on fire. And it took over 30 years This
Cop
occurred in
who
1991.
wore that green shirt.
Yeah, and the original cop on the case, Detective Jones, he's now retired, but he had promised the family that when he had the right person, this was like after they discovered that two other people who had been arrested for this and even had been convicted of the crime, and then it turned out that their convictions got overturned because they were not the right people. Anyway, Detective Jones promised the families that the next time they saw him in this particular shirt, it was because he knew who it was. And now, after 30 years, he was able to pull that shirt out of his closet and put it on as he announced that Robert Eugene Brashear, a man from Arkansas, his DNA was under the fingernails and on the body of the girls. And it turns out that he is a serial killer who took the lives of people in South Carolina and Missouri, three other people. And then in 1999, he used a firearm to take his own life during a standoff with police rather than be taken in.
Cupcake, do you want to be a moderator? I know you've been on the show a few times. Would you like to moderate and get rid of the trolls?
And the man who's awaiting an apology with the district attorney's office there in Texas is Robert Springsteen. He's the guy that spent 4 years on death row and 8 years in prison. He was freed in 2009. And he just wants his life fully back. He wants to be exonerated completely.
You have been crowned as Troll Hunter. Thank you for coming back and seeing us on the channel. Let's zap some trolls.
And let's see, do I have anything else I was going to get into before just
we're going to talk about that
chatting
guy in
with everybody.
Michigan.
Okay, we'll talk about the guy in Michigan.
Remember I said we got a little MAGA piece.
There is overwhelming evidence that the guy responsible for the horrific acts that took place at the LDS church this Sunday there in Michigan, that he actually was a MAGA. And you're not going to hear anything more from anyone on that side of the political spectrum or anything, because of the fact that they tried to spin that he was a leftist, and until it all came back that this
no, he wasn't LDS, but he was
did
LDS adjacent.
Yeah, he did date someone. I'm not sure yet whether this is the person that became his wife later, because he does leave behind a wife and a child.
Poor
but
people.
He did date someone who was LDS, and he had to get some of his tattoos removed and stuff to pursue that relationship, and he ended up having some very twisted thoughts of the LDS church. And then it appears that the whole Charlie Kirk thing being LDS adjacent as well, due to the faith or former faith of the person who's been arrested in that. It could be all messed up, mixed up, whatever, in all of that. And so that was interesting. I'm always looking to try to see what the motivations are for these people who do horrible things. And I hate it when it's political, because politics are a mess, and I don't like getting involved in politics.
Boy, he made a mess in Michigan, didn't he? My gosh.
Yeah, and from what I'm hearing, he used gasoline as an accelerant to set the church on fire. But then, in order to make the recovery at the church, the recovery efforts and everything more difficult, he also left incendiary devices that had like, like improvised IEDs that had nails and whatnot in them that needed to be diffused.
We don't touch too much on MAGA and anti-MAGA stuff on this channel, but every now and then when there's a great loss.
And if it's got political motivation, we'll like brush over, or not brush over per se, but just like include that if it's a factor. But we don't really like to get into that. It's kind of icky. So now I'll just move on to another case that didn't make a whole lot of news, but did rock the worlds of those of us who are into a certain style of music. And I thought it'd be time to bring it back because this occurred on October 15th, 2024. And what?
You can read my writing.
Okay, anyway, Jakey Lee was the guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne. He also was a guitarist in a group called Badlands that we saw in concert.
We saw those guys.
When we saw them in concert
Somewhere
eons ago.
in Hollywood.
People yelling, Jakey Lee, Jakey Lee. It was, it was just like shaking the whole building.
He was
Anyhow,
a loved guy.
And Jakey Lee luckily has survived, and October 15th this year will mark 1 year of him surviving this horrific incident that took place in Las Vegas in the driveway of his own home while he was out walking his puppy, Coco. And he says don't give him a hard time. He's not the one that named it. I'm suspecting his daughter named Coco. Anyway, Coco appears to be a pitty, and he was walking Coco at 2:40 in the morning when he spotted some hooded and masked individuals in his neighbor's driveway, being all over his neighbor's motorcycle. And so he kind of yelled out a hey at them and stuff, and was like, trying to figure out what they were up to and let them know that they were seen. And then they had an altercation back at him and told him to go mind his own business. And so he was backing away when they emptied a clip, and he was moving and trying to get Coco out of the way and everything. Coco luckily was not hit at all, but Jakey Lee was hit 3 times.
I remember when this happened.
One shot went into his back, which shattered a rib and punctured a lung. Another one went into his forearm, and a third shot went into his foot. And he ended up making a full recovery, and he was being totally humble about the fact that this all occurred because he was watching out for his neighbor and was like, hey, what are you doing with around my neighbor's bike? And just and so these were just some street thugs, little punks that had nothing better to do than try to steal a motorcycle and then fire 15 rounds at an elderly man and his puppy, and only hitting him 3 times. And that just is rotten, but very glad that Jakey Lee survived, and that the 15th of this month will mark 1 year since his survival story began.
Cha-ching! Yes.
Okay.
You guys want a classic rewind?
A classic rewind or whatever. And in our little roulette or whatever of stories.
Yeah.
he has thrown up for me Chandler Halderson, which is a story that we did do. And, if you go back into our videos on the channel, you will find a story on Chandler Halderson that we did as a full production with, it wasn't one of our cartoon ones. We only did a few cartoon ones, but this one was complete with B-roll
We
and all
could
that.
talk about a cartoon video after we do Chandler. Since
I don't remember which ones we did in
we could
cartoon
do
format, though.
the truck driver in Arizona.
Oh, but that's not really so much a crime as to...
It's a mystery.
Okay. Anyway, Chandler Halderson. The other night, I told you about Tyler Hadley, who was a teen male who took the lives of his parents, destroyed his parents with a hammer, so that he could have a house party that no one would ever forget. Well, now we'll give you the story of Chandler Halderson, who also took out his parents and also was the younger of two sons and was also coddled and babied to the extreme by his parents, who just wanted to do right by him. They only wanted to do right by Chandler. Chandler was very lazy and did not really want to do anything for himself, and actually it seems that Chandler would put tremendous amounts of work into not working. Chandler created a fantasy life. He told his parents that he worked for an insurance company from home, that he worked on his computer in his room working for an insurance company, and that he was also going to classes full-time at a university, and that he also had applied for and won a job at SpaceX in Florida, and that he would be moving from Wisconsin to Florida if only he could. But he fell on the stairs, and now he was having terrible headaches and a messed up neck, and he had difficulty walking, and he didn't know if he was going to be able to drive to Florida, and so he didn't know if he was going to be able to take that job. And besides that, he needed his diploma and his transcripts in order to get the SpaceX job going on. But the school, for some reason, they were having some sort of mix up, and they didn't have his transcripts, and something was wrong, and they were giving him the runaround, and he was sharing with his dad the emails that he was getting from the school over this. And also, wouldn't you know it, there was some kind of screw up at work too, and he hadn't gotten his last several paychecks, and he was trying to work with the HR and with the payroll department and stuff like that with work too, and they were giving him the runaround. They were looking into it. They weren't sure what had happened, but they were looking into it for him. And he shared those emails with his dad too. And
the emails were like based on Google.com.
Yeah, all the emails didn't have official university or official insurance company email addresses and stuff, but I don't know how long it took his dad to start being suspicious about that. But finally, at one point, his dad
was he was trying to take care of
was
his boy.
yeah his dad was seriously trying to take care of Chandler, seriously trying to get all this taken care of for him. And so his dad called up the university, and I think he on the pretext of being Chandler, but then the dad was told that Chandler hadn't been enrolled in any classes, that he wasn't about to graduate, and that, as a matter of fact, he hadn't attended beyond his first semester there. And the dad's like, that can't be right. And so then he contacted Chandler about it, and had made an appointment for the two of them to go to the university together to get things straightened out. And Chandler agreed. And so the day came that he and his dad were supposed to go to the university. But instead of going to the university with his dad, Chandler met his dad with a rifle that he had gotten as a gift from someone that he played online video games with. And then he called his mom and asked her to bring him some soda. And she agreed, and she stopped, and she did her shopping, and then she went and got him his draft soda and was bringing him his soda. And she barely made it inside the front door of the house before Chandler took her out as well. Bags of groceries were left near the door inside the house. And that's when Chandler set to work trying to make it all go away. He cut up his parents and tried to get rid of the evidence in the fireplace at home, but he got the fireplace going so hot that the glass shattered. But he still kept a fire going for like 2 days. The neighbors' ring cams caught the glow of the fires in the Halderston living room. And Chandler cut his foot on some of the broken glass, and poor baby had to tell his girlfriend that he had hurt his foot, and he needed help cleaning the house because his parents had gone away for a week. He said they were going up to the family cabin, and that he was supposed to get the house clean before they got back. And so after a couple days, the girlfriend came and helped clean the house. Chandler had made a nest with the furniture in that room where the fireplace was. They got some cleaning done.
She just kept adding his parents into that fire pit, and just kept burning and burning and burning.
And then parts that didn't burn or that he wasn't able to fit, he then wrapped them in plastic tarping and stuff, and first stored them in the ice chests in the garage, and then he drove them in the car, and he actually took them, the remains of his father's torso, and stashed it in the woods behind his girlfriend's mom's house. And that's where he put the firearm. Also was in a shed on the property that belonged to the girlfriend's mom. And he also went and deposited parts of his mom alongside the Wisconsin River. And all this got figured out because the girlfriend didn't trust Chandler, because on top of everything else, he had cheated on her in the past, and so she kept like a kid tracker on him, and he had to also be on Snapchat with her, and the Snapchat had the little mini Chandler, and so it would show her where Chandler was when she spoke to Chandler. And he was telling her he was at the house, but it was showing him out at the Wisconsin River at the same exact swimming area where he had taken her before, but where he had also taken the person that he cheated on her with. And so she was very suspicious about that, and she made note of that, screenshotted that he was there, and she gave that information to the police. And meanwhile, he reported his parents missing after his mom's boss got in touch with him and was like, where's your mom? She hasn't come back to work after the 4th of July weekend. And Chandler's like, oh, well, they went to our lake house, and our cabin up north. And
Wasn't her car in the driveway at home?
Her car and the dad's car were both in the garage at the home, which is weird. And so then Chandler then said, some couple came and picked up my parents and took them with them to go to the cabin And people were like, "What? That doesn't make any sense at all. What do you mean?" And who are these people? And Chandler's like, "I don't know. I didn't see the people." And Chandler's brother was very suspicious about all this, and went with police to the family camp home thing, and it was immediately evident that nobody had been there in over a year.
Give it up for her storytelling. She's got some good storytelling skills,
And-
all from memory.
Meanwhile, Chandler had been close to his mom before he had taken her life, and had often had messages from her, and also texting with her. And so he had notes from his mom in the house that he tried to use to say that these were recent notes from his mom, indicating that his mom had gone to the cabin and stuff. And also, he texted himself from his mom's phone saying that they were watching the fireworks. She and the dad were watching the fireworks and the parade and whatnot up there at the lake place, except for there were no fireworks that year or no parade and stuff like that. So that didn't make any sense. And quickly his stories were unraveling, and he just kept trying to deny everything to the very end. But he has been convicted and he is locked up, and still telling stories and still conning people. Guards at the prison where he is say that he often gets other inmates to help him with his chores and with anything else by saying that he's injured and he can't do it himself.
You were telling me a story of that guy who was on a horse, historically.
Oh, dandy. Now a little bit of history without saying exactly what tribe, but back in the 1800s when they were doing the relocation of natives in Wisconsin, there was one chief who had been kind of like a runaway, so they were going to take him to a prison, and he pretended to be crippled and that he couldn't walk and all this, and so these soldiers were carrying him or putting him on a horse and walking the horse themselves, so they're getting all worn out, and he's just being real rested and being carried along. And then at one point, after several days of this, all of them were around a campfire because everybody slept near the campfire to stay warm at night. And Dandy asked the captain, who was reading the Bible, whether that was a good book. And the captain said that, yes, this is a very good book. This is the good book. And then Dandy said, if this is such a good book, show me where it says that I should go live on a reservation and, be away from my people. And so the captain got angry and said, go put him in a tent over there and leave him alone for the night. Put him in a cold tent while the rest of us are sleeping by the campfire. And so while everyone else was sleeping by the campfire, Dandy, who was not crippled and was not injured, cut the back of the tent and escaped and spent the rest of his life in freedom.
Where is this current day city?
And that's Ashland, Wisconsin, is where the site that is now Ashland, Wisconsin, is where he went.
Very good. We've been on for 49 minutes. What else can we do?
And
The girl, her boyfriend was that investor guy. She was a supermodel. Worked out at the gym all the time.
Are you talking about Courtney Clancy?
Courtney Clancy, we have her on the channel.
Oh yeah, we have Courtney Clancy. She was a spoiled brat and influencer, and she abused her boyfriend
Thank you for coming
all
by,
the time.
Cupcake.
She had previously stabbed him and cut him and attacked him,
Hi, Journey.
and then would say that he attacked her and she wanted him out of their apartment and things like that. They lived in like a penthouse apartment in Florida at the time, And
Very
then
ritzy, very expensive.
very richly, very expensive. And there was video of them in an elevator where she is just wailing on him, beating the holy poo out of him, and he's just like trying to put up his
A perfect
hands and try to
gentleman.
keep her away from him, but never harming her at all. And so one day she goes too far, and law enforcement, paramedics and everything arrive, and Christian Ombaselli is dead in her arms. She's covered in blood and everything, and she's crying, and maybe don't, and well, actually, I guess he was clinging to life at that point, and then when she was questioned, she was told that he did not make it, and she was like crying, oh no, and all this stuff. But she tried to say that it was an accident and that she threw a knife from across the room, and yeah, that's one of the stories on our channel. Another murdersome girlfriend,
Super influencer,
Two-Thorn,
Instagram.
and OnlyFans and other stuff. Two-Thorned Rose. She also took the life of her partner with a knife.
Two-Thorn Rose. This is an interesting story about a Two-Thorn Rose.
Yeah.
She started out. You go.
She started off rather chonky.
Yeah, I
And
wanted
then-
to say that, but I didn't
and
want to
then,
be offensive.
And then she did a GoFundMe and stuff to have the surgeries to get rid of the extra skin so that she could do these skin flicks, which she got and she did. And her boyfriend also was very subservient to her, and
He loved her, dude.
he loved her so much,
dude.
and she took his life. And and then
After he followed her from his home state all the way down to Florida.
I think it might be another Florida case, but
He gave up everything to be with her. He started being in her movies.
where Diddy at? Diddy's still in
Diddy in jail, dude.
Diddy
He's not
in
getting
jail.
out.
Diddy gonna be in jail a while.
Well, we
Diddy's
don't-
probably going to prison. Diddy wants
Yeah, tell about Diddy.
Diddy wants 14 months, which would be time served. Prosecution wants 11 years, and the
Yeah, we can go back
probation
there.
and parole department, they want 70 or 80 months, which is like 5 years.
Well,
So we'll see what Diddy gets.
60 months would be 5.
And I have it written down. I'll go back and look at my notes. Back to my notes.
There's Diddy.
Yeah, the probation department was 70 to 80 months. And the judge historically goes with the probation department's recommendations. And Diddy's ridiculous. He tried to
Who
get...
came up with that? Did you make that up?
I made that up.
Okay.
I know it's probably not very funny. Mom joke. But anyway, the judge denied Diddy's request for an acquittal and denied Diddy's request for a dismissal and denied Diddy's request for a retrial, stating that Diddy had no grounds for any of this, and everything that Diddy was arguing just basically made zero sense. Like, Diddy tried to say that this was not something institution because he wasn't engaging in anything with the people who had been transported, that he was just watching. Then he said that that actually this was violating his First Amendment rights because this was his art form, and that he is an amateur pornographer,
Yeah, we're gonna use the word
and that the films that he was trying to make while he was watching the things that occurred, that those were his freedom of expression, which the judge said, no, you can't use First Amendment to try to explain away a felony. And so there were specific things that are and are not covered under First Amendment rights. And then Diddy's final arguments were that he felt he needed a new trial because he felt that the jury was prejudiced against him because of the RICO charges and the other charges that he had against him. And then they just pointed out this is the same jury that acquitted you of those charges or who convicted you of these two charges. So how are they prejudiced against you since they acquitted you of all those other charges? And so,
Hey, Mark.
yeah.
Welcome to the show again.
And, yes.
We were talking about Diddy a little while ago, and she had just finished yet again.
Mm-hmm.
And we told some classic true crime stories tonight from the channel that we had done a year or two ago.
And I'm waiting for more stuff, speaking of First Amendment rights and all that kind of thing, waiting to see what more is going to happen in the D4VD case because, David, because, he's got a questionable art form which might be the map for what happened to his very much underage girlfriend, but also he could have an alibi for some of the times, and some of it might indicate a setup. I'm just waiting to see what all this really turns out to be, because this is just such a cluster, what.
Nobody's coming clean out. No one's coming out. Very few pictures making it onto the media now.
Well, they're not making it onto the media, but lots of pictures are being given to law enforcement because kids galore are coming forward who have been arguing all along that David is a PDF file, and they have been disgusted since the beginning. These are peers of Celeste saying, this is just wrong and something needs to be done about this. And also, a lot of people have been going after Celeste's family. Celeste's mom doesn't speak English. It was other friends of the family that made the police reports and whatnot. And it's quite possible that just the whole climate of what is going on here in the United States might make certain populations of people wary of coming forward to law enforcement. And actually TMZ have been being great about being go-betweens for Celeste's family and law enforcement. And it just remains to be seen what charges are going to be filed against who in this case, because we do know that there were inappropriate relations between an adult and a minor child. We also know that there were likely many people who knew that this was a minor child in a relationship with an adult that didn't do anything to stop it or report it. And then we don't know yet whether this was death by misadventure or a homicide or what. And we do know that Celeste was not and has never been pregnant. So that's not going to be a charge involved in any of this. And
well, I don't think they can make an arrest of David at this point.
No, they can't at this point. They need more evidence. Plus, why arrest him for a small thing if they're trying to squeeze him for a larger crime? They need to get all the evidence. They need all the information out there.
They need all the players, dude.
And they need all the players. They need to get everything lined up so that they can find out who all is involved in this.
There's going to be some characters coming to light soon.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
And I do know that D4VD's manager has made a statement by commenting on a post on TikTok rather than, out in normal, well, I don't want to say normal, out in mainstream media or anything, but he's stating that he has never lived with David, that he was a remote handler of David, and that there were many other people that worked closer with David, and that this was a management team that handled David, and that he actually himself, this is Josh Marshall, is that his name? He works remotely out of his home in Florida. He did rent the house for David on instruction of David, but he never set foot in the house and never met Celeste. And then that makes me wonder about, because he did state that he never received the emails that were from the representative for Celeste's family saying that Celeste was underage and they wanted her back home. And then the very next day, after them getting the read receipt for the email that was sent to this guy,
Did you
the
see
manager.
the video that came out of them yelling? Did you see that?
Yeah, Celeste was yelling at the neighbors, and just it was crazy. And this was during the time that Celeste was supposedly missing, although everybody's saying now that she wasn't missing, but she had run away, and that they had still had contact with her all the way up until late July or so. And
Hey, Mark, do you want to be a mod? You want to be a troll hunter?
and just waiting for more to come out in that case. And I did notice that the manager of David, besides trying to distance himself, when it came to the information about the reddish orangish Tesla that had been kept inside the garage at the property where David was living, and after the lease was broken and everything was being taken out, a masked man was seen driving it away. The plates were caught by media agencies. They ran the plates, and they were reporting that the plates went to Josh Marshall, but Josh Marshall says those plates go to the management company, and he said that's not my car. So guess there's more players in the management company that has something to do with this as well.
Yeah.
So it just seems that more and more players are coming to light, and
We will keep you updated as
We
new
will.
characters.
yeah, we will keep you updated, and we will keep our eyes on this and make sure that the story does not die down, that there will be some sort of justice for Celeste, because there is no reason for a child to turn up deceased in the front of a Star's Tesla.
Well said. Yeah, you, Mark. You can be a moderator if you like. Some people don't want to be moderators.
Yeah, I'm going to put a Troll Hunter sign-up sheet over in our community, because obviously trolls are out in full force, and I know that some of our awesome troll hunters are getting burnout from having to deal with all the trolls, and we so appreciate all of you. And I think I'm also going to put out a public thank you to everyone who is currently
I'm
a
gonna
troll
add
hunter
you,
for
Mark,
us.
and you can just tell me later if you don't want to be, and I'll just remove you. It's okay.
And it's just crazy now that we've been doing lives that all these trolls are coming out, and I have
They're very
Explicit, some of them. Sometimes the mods get a hold of them, and I don't have any idea what they're saying.
All I see is blah was deleted.
I'm like, wow.
and we're all for freedom of expression, but not for nastiness by just like making
Yeah.
everybody uncomfortable and stuff.
You see anything you don't think belongs on this channel, you guys go ahead. I'll give you full
But
access.
if it's just kind of like silly insults, as long as it's getting too nasty, and if you mods are getting tired of having to zap all the trolls, I'll just go ahead and say if they're saying I look goofy or whatever, that's okay. I know I look unusual.
Just look kind of goofy.
Yeah, kind of goofy, so that's okay. But if they say nasty stuff, though, I don't want that out there.
If they say I'm pretty, that you can leave that up there. I see guys up there telling me I'm pretty. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he's okay with that,
Hmm.
and you know, and people that ask us whether we're on the left or whatever,
Oh, we're YouTubers.
they can be there too. But
We know where to get all this information.
we're just
People send it to us.
we're us, and also I noticed a lot of people are like troll. A lot of trolls like to try to ask about me being trans or whatever, and obviously I'm not trans, but I don't have anything against trans people.
Hey, you trans can
So-
come on here and talk about your
So if they want to,
anything you want, dude.
so if they're trying to insult me by calling me trans, try to find something else to insult me with,
As
because
long
that
as it's
doesn't
like
insult
PG
me.
rated, Yeah, bring it. You guys want to carry guns? Yeah, do it.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, we're
play us an
supporters.
outro
we
song
we
real quick.
support everyone on the rainbow. So, just we feel that people ought to be allowed to be. Period. Let people be.
what else are we gonna talk about? What's that truck driver's name?
Devin Williams.
Yeah.
Devin Williams was that's a classic story, and it's not so much a crime story,
It's
but
not
it's
really
one.
a crime, but it is.
But I think it was our first venture
mystery.
into playing with AI while telling a story, and he was a truck driver out of Americus, Kansas, and he regularly ran from his home in Kansas to LA, and he usually carried fruits and vegetables back and forth
out of Americas.
out of Americus. That's Amercus, Kansas. I didn't even know it was a place until this story.
He'd run out to Los Angeles.
I used
or
to
somewhere.
think like I originally saw it on Mr. Ballin, and I thought he was saying Americas, Kansas, like he was trying to explain it was a Kansas that was in America. But I got it straight before I ran the story as well. Anyway, Devin one day didn't complete his run, and everyone was alarmed, and so they tried to backtrack him, and then it turned out that people in this campground, not campground, but camping area
in the forest.
in Arizona,
Which forest?
Tonto.
National Forest,
Good job, crew member.
in Arizona, had seen this like glazed-eyed truck driver looking like a zombie behind the wheel, racing down
Remember,
the dirt road.
He stopped in Kingman, Arizona, and he said he couldn't get any sleep over there in Kingman. So
Yeah,
he decided
he had done a phone call saying that he couldn't get any sleep in Kingman, and then next thing anybody knows,
he had headed up near Flagstaff, Arizona, up on top of the mountain.
got turned around and ended up in Tonto National Forest, and up and down on logging roads and stuff, driving real fast, having some close calls with campers in the area. And then one family noticed a guy standing in a meadow staring at a big rig that was sitting there. And so the dad got out of the vehicle to go ask him, "Hey buddy, you okay?" or something. And then the guy standing there turns and looks at him, and is just got his mouth hanging open, and then he just kind of like worked his mouth a little bit, and then he said, "I'm not getting out of this alive." And the guy, the dad guy's just like, whoa.
He took off.
So he
in
backed
a
up real
hurry.
quick, and then they took off, and then when they got out of the forest, they went and called to have a well-being check on this truck driver. And when law enforcement got out there, there was no sign of any truck driver, and the truck logs, basically everything was still there in the truck. Nothing was missing. The food was still in the refrigerator part of the truck, and everything. I think it was strawberries.
Yeah, I think it was strawberries as well.
Anyway, then a different family reported seeing, or maybe it was just a couple. And anyway, they reported seeing a guy not real far from there, but he was next to the road, and he seemed to be trying to start a fire because he had a little rock, like campfire thing, right next to the road. but he had a rock in one hand and a $20 bill in the other, and he was just like hitting the $20 bill with the rock. And they asked him if he was okay, and then he threw the rock at them, so they bailed. And they also reported the strange occurrence. And nothing, no sign of Devin for like over a year. I forget exactly how long it was before there were some hikers in the Tonto National Forest who discovered a strange round rock in the middle of the hiking path, and they went to pick it up to get a closer look at it coming because it seemed so round and out of place. And they pick it up and they turn it and see the eye holes and everything and realize they're holding the skull. So they report that, and tests, forensics came back and said that skull belonged to Devin, but no other part of Devin has ever been found.
Tom Segura, the comedian.
Well, anyway,
Mr.
yeah.
Ballin.
Yeah, I love Mr. Bolin. He's awesome, and I love watching his stories. And
I think that's all we have for the night. Huh?
yeah, I think that's it for the night. I think we're gonna get off of here and listen to our kiddo play some music. So
So that's it.
have a good one, and we'll see you tomorrow. And if you have any requests, just go ahead and
Drop your request for True
Drop 'em.
Crime up in the comment section. Like and subscribe. And smash that like button as hard as you can. And
Oh, and
keep
share.
going. You can share the
Share
videos
videos.
if you want.
yeah,
I'm just gonna exit here.
or
with a little-
at least word of mouth share.
little classical guitar.
You didn't push the button to turn
No,
us
we'll
on.
respond to the comments until for a moment. Thank you, Mark, for being my newest mod here.
They call our mods troll hunters.
I don't like it when the comments don't scroll. Have you ever had frog's milk? I don't know what that is.
No, goat's milk. I wonder if frog's milk is finer than frog's hair.
Like,
Van Halen,
what video?
little guitars.
Hey, Miles, maybe we'll see you tomorrow. We will be back on tomorrow. We're on every night.
Do you guys like Van Halen? Because that's what we're ending the show with tonight. Miles said that's good. Good night.